I was born, lived a man, sad to see, and he told us of his life in the land of submarines.
So, guys, welcome to Season 3, Episode 4 of Culture Copia Podcast. With me, as always, Matt, Nate, and Greg.
Mm-hmm.
And we are really excited to be talking about Fallout in this episode. We're going to be covering the video games, the series. Nate and I are big game fans. We've played it ever since it came out. Nate got to play it on PC, and I've played it on Xbox. But you guys haven't really, Matt and Greg haven't really played it, but you guys have kind of seen the series. Mm-hmm. So why don't we kick off with Matt, and let's get going on the series. Let me get your thoughts on it. What do you think about it?
I really loved it. So I have, you included, I've got a few friends that, you know, were really into like the games and stuff. So there's even like some little references and things like that I kind of get that, you know, maybe... I don't think it's something that you have to have played the games to like understand the show and enjoy it.
Right.
But it is kind of fun when you do have that little nugget of like, oh, look, you know. I really loved it. I thought, you know, I mean, Walton Goggins might be one of my favorite actors, at least, you know, in the realm of, you know, present day, especially series and stuff.
I will admit he's in some of my ultimate favorite movies.
Dude. You know,
the Django.
Yeah. Well, you know, and you know, he's done. Okay, so he was in Django. He did
The Hateful Eight. Cut my legs and call me Shorty. Is that General Waylon Smithers?
That might be one of my favorite things that he's done.
Who was he in Hateful Eight?
He was
one of the 8.
He was a sheriff from Red Rock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the same guy.
Yeah.
He was also Vice Principals with Danny McBride and Righteous Gemstones.
I was going to say he's Uncle Baby Billy and Righteous Gemstones.
Go outside, nerd. But, you know, he just kind of has that swagger about him. I think he was perfect for this role.
Absolutely, he was.
He's easily, you know, one of my favorites. But, yeah, I mean, you know, taking it back to the games, I never really played them. So, you know, there's not a lot of comparison there. But, having said that, I thought that the series has done well so far. I love the way it was shot. A lot of use of, like, really neat, you know, different, like, cinematography tricks and stuff. And I think that there's certain things, you know, character development-wise, there's things that you don't maybe expect. And you gave me a little interesting tidbit about this. I didn't really care. So far, I don't care for Maximus as a character.
Yeah, I don't either.
And I, you know, and I just, I don't know if you're supposed to like him. It's a very interesting way to write a character and character development.
Nate,
in the sense that he definitely presents himself as, you know, a main protagonist, somebody who's a hero and that you want to root for. And
I don't want to root for him, though.
No, there's nothing redeemable about him yet. No. So,
Nate, what are your thoughts on Maximus as a character?
Well, Maximus seems to be this kind of guy who operates in a state of everybody thinks he's one thing, but he's actually secretly another thing. It's never the truth about Maximus. He masqueraded as the Knight, even though he kind of let the Knight die there and let everyone believe that for a while.
I don't really blame him, though. I would have let Michael Rappaport die, too.
You know, okay, that was funny. That when I saw, like, when he takes that mask off, I was like, is that Michael Rappaport? Like, no, it's not. There's no way. Like, what was the last thing he did before this?
Yeah, but Nate, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
He's just like an accidental kind of character. Like, what happens to him is more circumstance a lot of the time. But, I mean, I don't dislike him, but I'm also not, like, on the edge of my seat to see what happens next. I'm more into, like, what's the ghoul doing?
Yeah.
What's the Wastelander, what's the Vault Dweller doing?
Yeah.
Maximus, he keeps the story kind of pinned together. It kind of rotates around him a bit. He's, like, a bigger character than I thought he was going to be in this show. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, he's all right. I mean, what did you think of him?
I don't like him. if I'm being honest.
Easy recap right there.
Yeah, like
Greg, what do you think?
I didn't care. I only seen the first episode, so I just got his intro. Yeah, but Greg, he seemed like kind of like a coward almost. Just like he seemed a little too scared.
I think
for a circumstance.
Scared's a good word for him. he's pretty shell shocked. This boy.
Yeah.
Right. Which I mean, I guess it makes sense, but yeah.
And his backstory is pretty rough. Like he was a survivor of a village that got nuked, essentially.
Okay.
And the Brotherhood found him. So he crawls out of like this phone box type of thing, and the first thing he sees is this Brotherhood guy with like a huge set of armor on.
Right.
And I guess they saved him and brought him in, so that's like his origin story. And
Right.
he's climbing that ladder, but it also seems like at the same time he's realizing he doesn't really like that organization that much, and so he's like very conflicted as to what he's going to do next. This guy.
Yeah.
So I had to do some research there for a second. So there's a theory out there that Maximus has the Idiot Savant perk. And basically what the Idiot Savant... Nate, do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Why don't you explain it to us, what you think
like
the Idiot Savant
It's like having plus 10 luck. You're just, things kind of work out for you randomly despite yourself, if I'm thinking about this correctly. What do you think?
That is correct, yeah. So in order to do that, in order to probably get that perk, you got to go up to like level 10 on luck, which to give you an idea, I think you only get like... Is it 16 or 18 points to start off the game?
I'm pretty sure you can almost max things, but not quite. And then you got to find books and stuff to bring yourself up to like that 19, that 20 to get it fully maxed.
Yeah.
Some of them, yeah.
So in the game, you have these, you start off, and you get to pick your like attributes and how well you are at each one, right? And there's like things like strength, intelligence, perception, charisma, luck, endurance. Okay, and each cat. So you can like when you start off, you can pick how many levels that you want to start the game off in that. So what the Idiot Savant perk is you're like maxed out on luck, but you're not that bright. You're not that physically in tune. You're not very charismatic. Yeah. You just have good luck.
So he doesn't have essentially a lot of tactical skills, but he
no technical skills, no people skills.
Yeah.
Okay. No endurance.
Which they do show that too. There's not. Yeah. It all makes sense when you really lay it out there.
And it really does start to make sense when we look at the scene later on, Greg. So I guess we should probably say spoiler alert at this point. We're going to start getting into some stuff. That explains the story. So at this point, guys, we haven't given anything away about the story or anything like that if you haven't seen it yet, but here's your warning. And Greg, I'm sorry, we're going to have to cover
Sorry,
this.
I'll forget it by the time I get home anyway.
It might intrigue you to watch more.
Oh, I will. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching it.
So they're looking for the head of that guy who is a synth, if I'm not mistaken. He seems like a synth, doesn't he?
I mean, he survived for a long time.
Yeah.
He got his whole entire foot chopped off, and he was still going.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't seem normal.
Yeah.
So
it's Ben Linus from Lost, by the way.
I knew that.
Yeah. Michael Emerson. That was the first thing I noticed.
So they're tracking this head, and it got eaten by a grouper. I forget how is it a grouper?
I think that's right. Grouper. That giant water beast that comes out of the...
thing. You see him in Far Harbor, mostly in Fallout 4. It's Far Harbor is a DLC. It's another add-on pack to it. Mostly you see him there, but you do see him around like lakes and bodies of water. Whatever.
Right.
And they're a fucking pain in the ass. They're hard to kill. So anyway, when they kill this thing, it upchucks a bunch of shit, including the head. Now, how lucky was that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things that I'm starting to think, and that's why I don't like it. I don't like him because he's not very charismatic.
Well, okay,
he's not a Brotherhood of Steel candidate, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well,
there again, you talk about the charisma, and you talked about how you don't have any. There's no tactical skills. There's no people skills, and we show that a lot when he runs into Lucy, and he doesn't know how to interact. There's a lot of things when she's like, again, spoiler, Greg, but when they're talking about it, she's like, she's very, I guess, was raised just to be very upfront, and she's just like, you want to have sex? And he's like,
that was another one I was getting ready to say.
He's like, what do you mean? Like, use my cock? It's like, I'm not supposed to do that. I'm not allowed. What if the weird thing happens? What if it gets hard and explodes? She's like, that's supposed to happen. And it's just like, you can tell that he just has there's nothing really going for him, yet somehow time and time again he's succeeding at I don't even think he knows what his mission is or what his end goal is, and he just somehow is still moving forward through almost like you said, just sheer luck of just like I just keep happening to run into people and situations that help me. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's lucky quite a bit. That show has a lot of just everyone's kind of lucky, really, but he's super lucky. Like when he gets abandoned in his power armor, when his squire takes a fusion reactor, he's in a full bodysuit of armor, but this guy knows if you pull the fusion reactor out the back, he's locked into the armor.
Yeah.
So he locked him in his full suit of armor under a bridge and just left him there. And then these roaches start coming out and they're climbing the suit of armor. They start to pick at it. And then luckily for him, Lucy comes walking up and shoots these roaches and saves him.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the perk.
Right.
Huh. So talking, we've mentioned Lucy. I guess we should probably elaborate on her.
Yeah, I mean, she sort of drives the whole story.
Yeah, which they say that her character represents the actual player of the video game, which makes a lot of sense.
Okay,
that's how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
I see her. If there's one main central character of this story, it's her.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what I noticed off right away is she's sitting in front of the board. Matt or Greg, you've seen this first episode, right? Okay, so when she's sitting in front of the board interviewing for like the candidacy or whatever,
right.
That's also part of the first part of the series where you pick your strength or what's the...
Oh, so you've got your perks in the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
You're sitting in the classroom. They show you the board, and you get to start to choose like how you're gonna go interact in the world. Where you're gonna be in life. Because in Fallout, you don't necessarily have like a cookie cutter build you start with. You can be good at science, but terrible with strength, or you can be great at strength, but not good at science. And so the repercussions in the game, you're going to have to make some choices. So if you're good at science, you may be able to open doors by hacking computers, which they do a little bit in this. They hack a vault computer. But the flip side of that is you may have no strength. You can't carry anything around. So the game makes you balance how you're going to like approach the world. It's this survival aspect of Fallout. One of the things I like about the franchise is because of that. They let you choose a way to play the game. You can be like a total diplomat. Like Lucy reminds me of somebody who's spec'd into like diplomacy. She's really good at talking to people, but she's still kind of naive at the same time. But I think that's what it takes to be good at that sometimes. Whereas her strength is not like super high in the beginning.
True. She does talk though about her like martial arts training and stuff. So you got a little bit of that.
I forgot about that part.
Do you have a little bit of that? And
that could be an agility, right? Isn't that one? That's an attribute to agility.
It does show up right in the first episode where they have to defend themselves in the vault, and she kind of like immediately becomes a badass.
Yeah,
right.
But it's interesting that you bring up the different like kind of specs and stuff of the characters because that sort of brings me to her brother Norm.
Okay.
Who probably, seems like he's not very strong, probably doesn't have any of the martial arts background she has, but he also seems very smart, very self-aware of who he is, and that kind of helps propel him. Honestly, from the beginning, I was like, okay, he's whatever, and then he quickly became like maybe my favorite character, honestly. So I really enjoy his little side story.
There's a meme out there too that he is the only character, the only player to stay on the main course or the main quest line.
Oh yeah,
he never deviates from the quest. Yeah, right. And that's one of the things I like about Fallout. And I totally agree with you too when you said there's no cookie cutter way of playing it.
Yeah,
I've played through Fallout probably 3 or 4 times now, and every time is a different experience. Okay. Yeah. One of the things is it's really easy to be on a quest and then get sidetracked and go down this road. Like it's real easy to do.
That ghoul has a line about it, right?
I was just about to bring that up. Yeah. It was Walton Goggins as the ghoul. When Lucy talks about the golden rule, do unto others as you'd have done to you. And he said, the wasteland has a golden rule too. Thou shalt get distracted by bullshit every fucking time.
Yes. So, another thing, we're still staying on topic with Lucy here.
Yeah.
The first episode, you see her, she dukes it out with old dude, right?
Yeah.
Fisting. Okay. Yeah. That's exactly how it is in the game. You start off with no weapons at all.
They fisted? Okay. I thought it was just like missionary.
No, they fisted out.
Oh, okay.
Hey now.
Did they cut that part out?
They might.
Is that the extended scene?
Yeah,
the fisting scene?
She had a lot of practice with her cousin.
It was cowgirl too. She
with
was
her cousin. Oh, Chet seems like he got fisted a lot.
Yeah, right. So then she defeats that guy, and then she gets a knife.
Right.
Okay, and then she battles a little bit, and then she's got the what weapon is that?
It's got like a trank dart
gun thing, and that's
Non-lethal.
also in the games.
Yeah.
I forget the exact weapon it's called, but you can syringer. That's what it was. It's a syringer gun.
Okay.
And you can like make like different things. You can poison people with it. You can like make them go crazy. There's different effects. Different ammo that you can make and use it.
Nice.
Well, we talked about that too, and it's if I'm seeing a theme here, it's that Walton Goggins definitely has the best lines in this fucking show.
You have to give Walton Goggins the best line,
because that's another one when she shoots him and he says, "Well, that's a one tiny drop in a big old bucket of drugs."
So it was just really cool to see her like as the player. She lists her attributes. She picks up her weapons, and like she's the lone survivor or the lone wanderer, right? In the game,
the lone wolf.
So I want to talk about that, and then we talked about Maximus.
Yeah,
and then
okay, we have to talk about one of my favorite like little side characters, and I think you've seen him already, maybe in the first episode, the snake oil salesman. Who pops up again and again? Was that in the first? That might be the second episode.
I don't know.
Yeah, it might be in the second episode. But he gives that guy some drugs or something.
Yeah, that's later on. But he first pops up when Maximus has the armor.
That's right, and they were going to execute him.
And, the guy they're fighting, and he grabs the guy off of him, and he's like, step away and leave him alone. And he's like. The guy's like, "Oh, thank you," and he runs away. And the guy's like, "I'm sorry, I wasn't." He's like, "It's just that guy was fucking my chickens, man." And he's like, "All right, well, don't do it again."
So I guess
it's crazy to think about the coincidence there, because if he didn't save that guy wouldn't have been around later in the show to save the other guy who ultimately brought the head to the
he ends up becoming like kind of an important part of the story, even if it's just for a moment. Absolutely. That just comes down to good writing. I think everything that we've kind of discussed so far has exhibited that it's a very well written show. It's very smart in the sense that you kind of, especially in a game where you kind of choose your own quest, you get sidetracked, all this stuff like we were talking about. And they really exhibit all of that somehow in one, what was it, 8 episodes?
I believe so, yes.
And, it's the power of storytelling.
Right.
That you can really experience so many things all at once. You maybe don't even realize what you're taking in, but, yeah. So,
I don't know if you noticed it early on, but I sure as hell did. Walton Goggins, Cooper Howard. His cowboy outfit. As soon as I saw that, I was like, and there's some little pre-tell, or what is it?
Like foreshadowing?
Foreshadowing. Thank you. I can't think today.
That's okay. I put those words together and I used your context clues and I figured it out.
A little bit of foreshadowing.
Hooked on phonics.
That the Pip-Boy is based off Cooper Howard. And that was a really, really cool detail.
Yeah, that was cool.
Right at the beginning. When he's talking about, holding up his thumb.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you've seen the... But there's got to be one around here. You have one around here,
right? Let's see, there's a shot glass there.
There's a shot glass. He doesn't have the thumbs up, but that is definitely modeled after Walton Goggins' character.
Yeah.
In the show, at least, where and they do it right at the beginning when he's at that party, and they're like, "Hey, how about the iconic thumbs up?" And he's talking about like the reason they did that,
Right.
And you see it again later, but yeah, you're right.
So, Greg, I hate to do this to you, but I've got to talk about this. One of the first things I noticed that was wrong with Lucy's vault. Nate, maybe you can guess this. Lucy's vault. Without getting into any story or anything like that, at its essence, what is wrong? And it's right on the first episode. What is wrong with Lucy's vault?
what's wrong with Lucy's
Yeah, there's something you
vault.
can tell something's going on, and it's out of the norm. It's completely out of the norm from the game.
No, Norm is her brother.
I'm not sure what you're getting at with this one.
I couldn't resist.
There's a few things that were different. Like they had crops growing in there,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure what dystopian wrongness you might be talking about.
Okay. Well, it's
So,
not really a
sorry, I
dystopian
dropped the
wrongness,
ball on
but
that one.
it's the fact that Vault 31, 32, and 33 are all connected.
Oh,
Okay.
I see what you're getting at.
Is
that is different.
Is that not something that pops up in the games?
Absolutely not. It
No,
is
100% no.
the antithesis of having a vault.
Is that it's all separate? Is that each one is separate?
Yes, each one is separate, and it ensures like the survivability of the vault dwellers.
Yeah.
They broke canon a little bit. Yeah, that was odd because right in that first episode, they're having like a meeting between the two vaults for this wedding. There's none of that in the games.
No, you
There's
don't have two vaults that are connected to one another.
Yeah,
Okay.
they don't,
Okay.
no marriage, and they don't recruit people from one vault to like rule.
I thought that was kind of weird.
That was
Yeah,
all
it's very
different.
And I knew that. I was like, that's
Okay.
completely out of the norm from,
So,
from
but
the game.
yeah, and it kind of propels the whole story in a way. So yeah,
Absolutely on how it ends.
yeah.
And that is also
Well,
true.
even in the beginning, the whole situation doesn't happen if there's not a meeting of the vaults. You know what I mean? Like
Correct.
because then they're not letting anybody in or out.
Right.
Yeah. So
So it did, Nate, maybe you want to talk about, they kind of alluded to, well, they did allude to in the board meeting, which had a very Doctor Strange love kind of feel to it, did it not? With the circular like board meeting and then all of the heads of state per se.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah.
solid Doctor Strangelove reference, by the way.
You couldn't help but notice, but I think it was kind of on the nose,
Yeah.
man.
Well,
Anyway, Nate,
Mm.
one thing I want to talk to you about is the different experiments that go on in the vaults, right?
Ooh, yep. Mm-hmm.
So
It's pretty wet. So back to the Doctor Strangelove meeting where they laid out the plan to get all the corporate investors to jump on board with this Vault Tech technology. Vault Tech didn't have enough money to go further. Their sales were good, but they were hurting a little bit. So they've got all the big corporations lined up at the board and they're pitching to them. And they're not biting yet. And so they come up with this idea and they say, well, how about this? We've got 100 and something vaults all around the United States. We'll break them into different groups, and each of you major businesses can run a set of vaults, however you want to run it. And so they started to come up with these ideas, and one of those ideas was, what if we did biological experiments in the vaults? We could try to make vault dwellers that are mixed and hybrid, and let's make vault dwellers that are immune to radiation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And another one wanted to do an experiment where they had called the Buds of Buds.
Yeah.
Buds of Buds?
Buds.
Buds.
The guy's name was Bud. And he was like, it's called Buds.
Buds was like, I think, a cloning program where they had generations of like the same manager, essentially, like Betty. There's like Betty 1 through X, and there's all these pods in the background. And so whenever somebody get elected in the vaults, for some reason, like the same people would always end up winning. They'd always get elected, but it's because they wanted to put a management situation in that like extended into the future. Their plan was essentially like, well, we don't have to win a war if everybody else dies first.
Yeah.
We'll out-survive them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, each of the vaults had their own little experimentations going on. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly the experiment was at the default Vault 33. Was it the Buds thing?
Yeah,
Buds was the experiment, right?
Did you finish the season?
Yeah, I finished the season about 2 hours ago.
You were a little distracted, though, weren't you?
It was a binge watch of Vault 33.
Is it just one season so far?
It's
so
one
far,
season,
but they're definitely coming out with the next one. They've already announced it.
Oh, yeah, that's it. I'm going to tell you right now, full disclosure, it ends on a complete cliffhanger. I actually got Amy into it, which is funny because like it's not always her jam. Like she's pretty hit or miss, but I started watching it and I was like, she's going to love this. I even told her, you're going to like it. She got hooked right away, and she's about to watch the last episode, and I told her, I said, just so you know, like you really don't get a lot of closure. Like you're going to stay tuned for season 2 for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But how does it, I mean, we've kind of talked a little bit about it, about like the similarities and maybe even some differences, but like I didn't play the games a whole lot.
Yeah, I was kind of...
Greg didn't, and I think this is a good time to kind of segue into asking you two, like, how does it really compare, and what would you, are there things that you want that you maybe were looking for and didn't get, or are hoping for out of the next season or whatever's to come?
Because see, to me, it kind of felt like a video game.
Yeah,
the way it's shot in that, like.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, I'm sure that it's close to the game.
So it is probably the best video game adaptation I have seen.
Very good.
Okay.
That I've gotten to play. Now, I'm a big fan of The Last of Us.
Over Resident Evil?
I didn't really play Resident Evil all that much.
Okay.
So
I've never seen
when we're talking about playing the video game.
I love the video game, but
played a lot of the games.
There are a lot.
Seen a few movies.
There's a lot of attention to detail with the series. It does, and I'm glad you picked up on that, Greg, because it does. It feels like it is Fallout in real life.
Yeah.
To me,
even more than that crappy Doom movie where they actually have a first-person point of view shot.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Where that was like the first, like, oh look, it's a first-person POV shot where he's running around shooting people. It's like, this is the hokiest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then The Rock shows up for no reason, and then roll credits, and I was like, the fuck did I just watch?
There's a scene where Lucy and Maximus are walking down a railroad track.
Yeah.
And the way that it looks in the environment and just the color scheme and everything about that scene was like, I could have been anywhere in the Commonwealth in that scene. Like, it was that good. Like, the vegetation and just everything about it was like, holy shit, that looks like an actual...
Oh yeah, they did a great job with a lot of that stuff. Some of the feelings playing the game, they captured in the show for me too. For example, when Lucy and Max go to walk into what they find out later to be a vault, they walk into this big empty building because he's bleeding out and they need medical supplies. And she just looks at this huge dilapidated hospital, which is totally dark, and you have no idea what's in there. And she's like, I'm going to go in here. And Max is like, you don't know what's in there. When you're playing the game, it was like that experience, too. You'd come up in front of a building. The thing is just, like, dilapidated. And there's going to be chaos that goes inside, but you have no idea going in. It's just dark.
Right.
And I was like, wow, that does remind me of the game right now. They're
Very
bringing
much
me
so.
right there.
Yeah.
What I love
that.
about Lucy and what kind of cracks me up about her character is that, and it's exactly what you just said, she has this, like, Scooby-Doo optimism of, like, you know, like Freddie Jones from Scooby-Doo of, like, let's go in there, gang. And he's like, what the fuck is this white bitch doing? Like,
I
don't
think
just walk into a building.
I think that's reflective of the first time you play Fallout.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because
You
the first
kinda- you're
time
pretty
you play,
naive
you're
and
pretty
you-
naive, and you quickly learn
Yeah.
this is a straight-on survival game,
Well,
and you are going to... I've played this game 3 or 4 times. I just recently started after the series, and I've died like 6 or 7 times
Oof.
because it's just, I get into a situation, I'm over my head, and in the game, where the area that you start out is usually relatively safe. The farther south and the farther east you go, the harder the environment becomes.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but she's raised, anyone in the vault is raised to believe we're the only survivors. Everyone on the surface is gone. Like,
correct.
The surface is just a wasteland of nothing. There's no people or anything up there.
Which is kind of... Nate, did you play the third one?
She's like a more serious Kimmy Schmidt, kind of, from the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Yeah, okay.
She's like this vault syndrome, and she's been suppressed for a while, and now she's like, bam, real world.
Oh, if only we could get John Hamm in...
Well, we're in talks.
in Fallout.
We're in talks to have John Hamm on the show in a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
We're
he
working
heard
with
our
his-
St. Louis
working-
episode. We got him, John Goodman, Cedric the Entertainer
Yeah.
all coming on.
Yeah.
We better get a case of Red Hot Riplets then.
Yeah, but honestly, Greg, back to your question. It was absolutely well done. They really did the video game justice in the way, in the aesthetics and in the way that it looks. You know, I was kind of wanting to see like the death claws.
Oh, the
Death
Death Claw.
Yeah, the death
Oh, Death
claws.
Claw.
I guess they're saving that.
Like the Mirelurks. I wanted to see some of the, creatures. Now they did.
I bet they're
show-
saving the good
Well,
ones for
see,
like
and
later.
that's what I was
in
going
the-
to say.
That's what I'm thinking
They're
too.
definitely... I've heard some of that from people who were fans of the games, and they're like, oh, man, they kind of didn't show this, they didn't show that. And I'm like, Yeah, they want you hooked, man. Like they're gonna put everything out.
So
there
here's the thing on that. Like in Fallout 4, you come across a death claw pretty early on in the game. By chance, kind of, because you get the power armor and the minigun, right? And then you have to go after them. For the Minutemen, you've got to kill a death claw to progress the Minutemen level. Other than that, you don't really see a death claw very often. And if you do, you better come correct. You have got to be prepared, because if you're not, they fucking kill you really fast, right? And so I was disappointed that I didn't get to see it, but it makes sense that you don't see it in the first episode because that's the kind of the way the game tracks, right? It's almost tracking as the way the game progressed.
There's a lot of parallels there, yeah, especially with some of the things like death claws and just like the idea of you may not be ready for this world, but there's danger around every corner, and then Lucy has to fall into danger to experience it firsthand and almost died to realize, like, oh, this world's actually a little bit more harsh than I thought. One thing I did like in the games that I didn't see in the movie is they get this concept called VATS. And so if there's a death claw running at you in the game, you can press a button to basically slow time down to like 1/10 or something, and everything starts moving super slow. And you can see the different locations on the enemy. You can target its eye, you can target its leg or its hand or its arm. So if someone pulls a gun on you in the game and you hit VATS, you can shoot the gun out of their hand, for example. Or you can shoot them right in the head before they can come after you. This show moves like super fast. All the gunfights super fast. Yeah. So if they were to just one gunfight, like maybe slow it down like Matrix style, that might be a nice hat tip towards that in the game. But the one thing they did do, though, is the ghoul, there's a scene where he's fighting people that are in power armor, and he has a really good monologue. I can't do it as well as this guy, but he's basically like, you feel tough with wearing that armor, don't you? Yeah, I felt tough wearing it too. Yeah. But there's one thing you gotta watch out for. There's a crack under the central chest plate. You think they fixed that yet? Yeah. The guy just drops to the ground. He's like, I guess not. And then fight scene.
Yeah. Right. Oh, he's infinitely badass in this fucking akin to probably like I get a lot of like Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday in Tombstone kind of vibe from him. Like doesn't give a fuck, has nothing left to lose, so that kind of liberates him in a sense of like, look, you can shoot me all fucking day, I don't care. Like if I succeed in what I'm doing, great. But if not, I mean, what do I got to lose?
He says something like that when they first dig him up, too. Yeah. They dig him up and they air him out, and they say something like, the money's in it. And he's like, well, I'm actually more about the craft or something. He has some line about it and dusts them all.
Wasn't it?
Like,
he said
what a
something
badass.
About like, oh, shit. Yeah, what is his line? See, he's got the most badass lines. It's like something about like, see, that's the difference. I'm in it for the love of the game.
Yeah, it was like that.
Yeah. Oh, dude, he's so fucking good.
It's such a good character. I like how they're telling his story, too, where they're flashing back and forth, like post-war and then pre-war.
That might be my favorite storyline.
So, I'm enjoying that.
Yeah, you got a lot to look forward to, man, honestly.
I know.
Yeah, hopefully we haven't ruined it for you, because I'm telling you, there's...
No, I mean, it's just really
that's what I said.
Go home and binge watch.
That's what I said. It's knowing Greg, I've known him for so fucking long. I know us talking about it isn't spoiling it for him. It's just making him really want to watch it more. Right, yeah. Like, oh man, now I got to see all this shit you guys were just talking about. Right. I do want to go back and touch on one thing that you brought up, and it doesn't even have to do with necessarily specifically this show or the correlation between that and the video game, even though that's why you brought it up. But the shot of Lucy and Maximus walking down like the railroad tracks. When you brought that up, it kind of like piqued my interest and made the gears start turning, and I started thinking about like all the different like shows and movies where we see railroad tracks as a theme. Walking Dead comes to mind. They all follow the tracks to meet up together, at like that main like railway station. Stand By Me is another one. Back to the Future 3 and a lot of westerns for that matter. What is it about that? And when I think about westerns, maybe. Well, I'll ask you guys. Like, what is? Do you think there's a symbolism to that? Like, what?
I think it is. I think it's the symbolism of, especially in this instance, two characters are on the same path in life at this point in time, and in this particular instance, it's these two characters that are getting to know each other, and grow with each other because they have the same goal in mind, and they're as of that time, their story is on the same path or on the same track.
Akin to Stand By Me.
Also Stand By Me.
And even Walking Dead, where, that's where they kind of introduced some new characters.
Correct.
So it's along those tracks.
It's along that track.
That's where we meet Abraham and Eugene.
Right.
And kind of, and also it's kind of, that those tracks lead somewhere, maybe to some sort of base. So it's like about getting
from point A to point B, and not just literatively, but figuratively in the sense from getting from point A in the story to point B in the story.
Or also,
I think too. Like the saying, "Wrong side of the tracks," and that like railroad tracks are pretty relevant in our society, or just the way we talk, I guess.
Are we going to get into a conversation about zoning districts? This is exciting.
Yeah.
My nipples are pointy.
No, but it's like you come across railroad tracks, like you can go left or you can go right. Yeah, it's like to me, it's like a decision.
Ooh,
like a symbolic.
That's an interesting way of looking at it.
A symbolic crossroads.
Are you going to cross the tracks? Are you going to follow them? And if you follow them, are you going to go left?
Which way?
Are you going to go right? Which way?
Are you heading toward a destination? As in, like, are you looking for a base, or are you heading out into the wild? You don't know where these tracks are going to take you.
Right.
Nate, what do you think?
Okay.
Well, I think this is all good commentary. What can I say? It hasn't been said. For me, tracks also imply a little bit of danger. I don't know what it was like for you guys growing up, but when we were in grade school, there was like people would come in and scare us about train tracks.
Yeah.
And they give a whole presentation about don't stand on the tracks like little Timmy because you'll get hit so hard your shoes will be on the track and your corpse will go flying. Like they really told us to stay off the fucking track. So when I see people in Fallout walking on train tracks, there's always that thought in the back of my mind of like, there's danger going on too. There's no train coming. Yeah. This thing's been gone for 200 years, but railroads in my mind have that associated danger to them as well. But yeah, the idea of like symbolically treading the same path together, I think is pretty solid. And just the idea that tracks go somewhere. They were down there to go to someplace important. It's kind of like following a water line. Or, you'll usually find something.
Right.
And tune in for our next episode about Shining Time Station and Thomas the Tank Engine. Right? What a lead in.
Yeah. For me, it's when I'm playing the game, using the railroad tracks is one of the best ways to get like further south because it is not as dangerous in the game. You can, I don't know about, a little tip here if you are playing the game, Nate, I use the VAT system as like a radar.
Oh, yeah, to try to pick stuff up on the horizon.
Yeah, on the horizon. So whenever I come up a crest of a hill, I hit it. And if there's nothing there, it doesn't do anything. But if there is something, no matter how far off it is, it'll pick up in your VATs and you'll know, okay, I've got something out there. And you can keep hitting it and keep pinging it like radar.
Okay.
That's really nice in a busy city, too, and it's just so much junk. You're like, is there anything hiding? And then, boom, there's like a death claw in the corner. You're like,
right.
Back it up real quick.
I'm not prepared. Better back it up. So that's what I'll do. Like, if I need to get far on something. And another thing what I'll do is when you first start off playing the game, I try and visit as many sites as I can because then you can use them as jump points. Right? Mm-hmm. But the farther south you go, and like I said, the farther east you go, man, it's tough, dude. You have to really come prepared.
The other thing I like about this game is you get to choose kind of your alignment, how you're going to play. You can be a total asshole, or you can be like the wasteland survivor, or you can be like, Jesus reincarnated and try to save everybody. And the game tracks that. Like you can be the wasteland saints, or you can be notorious. And so I think that's interesting too. And the show kind of does a little bit of that. Like Lucy's taking a fairly upstanding path, whereas the ghoul is kind of just going, I'd say he's like chaotic neutral, so to speak. Like he won't mind killing you, but he won't necessarily kill you for no reason.
He's the anti-hero.
But he could kill you for a little reason. Yeah, he's like an anti-hero. And then Finn, I mean, not Finn. I keep thinking he's Finn, though. He reminds me of the Star Wars dude a little bit. Max. Max, I'm not sure what the deal is with Max, honestly. I think he's kind of like, he's more responsive than he is, like, destiny seeking. He's like, well, this is my shit storm for today I have to solve.
And that's what I mean. That's what I said. You know, he kind of, there doesn't really seem to be like a specific end goal for him in mind where he's just kind of like, I'm working toward this. You know, he seems to be on a mission, but doesn't have
like he wants to be a knight. But that's all we know about this guy.
Yeah, you know, it's he seems very determined to do, from what we can tell, absolutely nothing so far.
I mean, he wants that power armor. That's what I get out of him. Is he was very focused on that, and he got it, and then he wanted to maintain it. Then he lost it again, but now he's into Lucy. Like, now he's got a little side quest going where he's like, that vision of my honey who I finally get the nerve to kiss, you know, maybe we can actually go to the vault and do it now that we understand what that is. And then he also got, I love the scene where he gets like, so he goes into this vault. They end up in a vault accidentally, and the people in the vault are nice to them, and they're totally shocked by this because no one's nice to anybody in this show except for vault dwellers. So he's extremely paranoid, like, we can't trust these people. And Lucy's like, they're vault people, they're fine, don't worry about it. And he's like, well, all right. The next day, they're really nice to him. They give him a robe, they give him popcorn, they give him television. And you see him, he's having a spa day. He's sitting down, and he is super happy at this point. And then the opposite happens. Lucy is now going through conspiracies and stuff. And he's like, what are you talking about? This place is great. He's eating handfuls of popcorn. So I think maybe he wants like a little piece of that now that he's tasted it. And he wants his power armor, and I think he wants like peace.
I think you're right in what you were saying. He has very short-term goals. There's no long-term goal with this man. It's like, what am I going to do today? You know, well, yesterday.
That's me.
That was in the past.
I guess it's kind of a Wastelander mentality to some extent, because it doesn't seem like the timeline's too long in this. You know, like if you survive a week, that's pretty good out there. To like, you can't plan to go to college or anything. For most of these folks in this show, it's just survive till the next day. There's a few people with arcing plans. They're usually the people running the vaults and the people like, what was her name? Madava?
Moldaver.
I mean, she has a vision. She got a big plan.
Yeah, I've got a big question for you guys, for Matt and Nate on this. How did she survive 200 years?
Yeah, I don't know. And that was going to be one of my questions. So she had to have been a vault dweller at some point.
I think she was a vault dweller, or she was a synth.
I don't know. I'm confused on that one.
But they killed her off.
Yeah, but they don't really bring up synths in the show. And for her to survive that long as a ghoul, there would have been physical tells.
Yeah, there's.
I think she was at some point. I don't think her story, her backstory, is done. I don't think
it is either.
I think we're still going to see her pop up in flashbacks.
So another thing I wanted to bring up is the sound effects. Did you notice, Nate, that when Norm is playing with his Pip-Boy, it's the actual Pip-Boy sound?
Yep.
When he is hacking the terminal, it's the actual sound from hacking the terminal.
Of the sound of the keys typing. That chunky typewriter.
The chunky old school typewriter.
Great. Nice.
Just little things like that. And what rings true, because when you play this game, you hear those sound effects all the time, right? It's like, and it's not really annoying, but you hear it thousands upon thousands of times when you're playing any given game. And when he turned on his Pip-Boy, I was like, dude, that's the actual sound effect from the game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was a pretty cool little touch. It's just so that
some of the vault sounds were pretty good. The doors rolling open and the hydraulic systems and the mechanics all sounded pretty in correspondence with the game. A lot of the weapons sounded right. I don't know if they're exact copies or anything, but the clicks, the shots, the slugs, the shells, the kind of base hit when a shotgun shell hit somebody, and that it sounded like how they dressed the game. Like the fight sounded about right. And then the other thing too, it's not a sound effect, but it just came to mind, is the makeshift armor that people wear in the show. Like when they go to the towns, they've got these weird cages on their head, and they've got like half of like a pitcher's outfit on. They make this like makeshift armor, and that's really on point with the game, because for the first half of that game, you look like you went to like the Johnny Cake Center of Armor. You're just grabbing random shit and smattering it, and that's your come up. You're like, yeah. And it looks terrible, but it's like effective, and so that world gets so much of that in it. And I think that's a cool hat tip.
So getting back to the vaults and the experiments, to give you an idea, like each vault that you go into, and I forget how many are in Fallout 4, but to your Nate, you made a point earlier, there's probably like 120, 130 vaults across the United States, right? Not all of them are bad. Like some of them were actually like good vaults to like live in, and they were like done, and they had plenty of water, and they were set up right. But some of the ones, and I think it was the one
those leaders had like an ethical vision of just like let's just survive.
Let's survive, and it's for the good of humanity. So you like I think like the vault that you're in, even though it got breached, I think was one in Vault 111 was one of those vaults, right? In the game, and you're in from Vault 111 in the game. But like some of the experiments that they would do is they would pump like psychoactive drugs into the ventilation system and watch people like tear themselves apart. One was like a battle royale. They stocked it full of ammunition and guns, and it was like battle to the last man standing. Was one experiment.
Jesus Christ!
I'm telling, dude, it was some of them were brutal,
no,
man. Like,
it's not funny, but it just like I don't know why that triggered me laughing.
Like, I mean, because can you imagine, say 1,000 people living in underground and
because what I think my immediate like vision, like the image in my head was Thunderdome.
That's kind of the way it is.
So that's why.
No, it's kind of like that. I forget all the experiments, but you find the experiments in the terminals in the vaults that you visit.
Well, I'm sure we'll find more as the series progresses.
So, other than that, I fell in love with it. I don't think they could have done a better job.
Yeah.
I will admit that it was kind of hokey, but some of the game is right. Nate, I did want to talk to you because your experience with the game is a little bit different than mine. One of the things that's different about the game version versus PC is you can never fully strip nude. I don't know if you were aware of that.
You can on the PC if you patch it, but
you have to patch it.
For the most part, no, you can't. You get your Vault Undies on, if I recall correctly.
Okay. Oh, so you may have patched it or something?
I definitely patched that
Vault
game.
Undies.
Yeah, I did like a 4K patch on it.
New band.
I did like the native characters. Yeah, I had a bunch of mods running for that game at one point, and it looked like really good.
Yeah, I remember you playing it on PC, and it looked absolutely amazing on PC.
Didn't they re-release it?
They did. They just came out with a new update, and I did a video on it just a couple weeks ago when I did the mini fridge reveal. On the 25th of April.
We've got a mini fridge in the studio now. In case anybody who's watching has probably seen it now on at least one of these camera angles.
Yeah, it's at the bottom right of this scene right here. We've got our Fallout.
But anybody who's listening, we've got a nifty little mini fridge in the studio now, and it's Xbox themed. It looks really cool.
It's awesome looking.
Looks like an Xbox from the front.
Yeah.
It's even got a little light on it like the Xbox with the little logo and stuff, so it's pretty dope.
Yeah. And
it's got our whiskey and
all our drinks,
beer and
I
mean water and
a 6-pack of soda.
Yeah.
So, like I was telling you guys earlier, I looked up
cold.
to see if we could get like Nuka-Cola or something like that, and it was like really expensive for like a 4-pack. Like it was crazy. It was like $10
for
bottle.
Again, probably something that's just Coca-Cola in a
or just sugar water, carbonated sugar water. You know, because it's.
Have you ever seen The Invention of Lying? Not to like get too much on a tangent, but since you just said that, with Ricky Gervais.
Yes, I was just saying. Yes.
And he exists. He lives in this universe. It's this like parallel world where nobody, like the part of your brain that knows how to lie, like it doesn't exist. So like movies to them are just somebody like reading history. Like that's all it is. They don't know because they can't make up stories, you know.
Right.
So like the advertisements, there's one for Coca-Cola, and the guy comes on TV and he's like, "Hi, I'm so and so, and I'm the CEO of Coca-Cola. Not much to say about it. We haven't changed it in lots of years. It's pretty much just brown sugar water, but you're still gonna buy it because you like it."
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
And like the ad for like for Pepsi was like Pepsi Cola for when they don't have Coke. You know, it was like they don't know how to like lie, so it's kind of funny.
Right.
Yeah, so I was looking into doing that, and I was like, not gonna do that. And then I was looking up like recipes. You can actually find like Fallout recipes, and so we may visit this again, especially if they come out with season 2.
Yeah.
Later on, and when we do on the next one, it would be really cool to get like a Dirty Wastelander, or a Gwyneth Stout, or what was it, the whiskey, Wasteland whiskey, or whatever it is.
Oh, there's so many good ones. We could do some barbecuing.
Yeah,
we get some rad roach.
Rad roach or some rad stag. Rad stag.
We can make some rad roach skewers.
It would be fun to do like a food series.
That would be fun.
Yeah, kind of tie it into.
I'm in.
Yeah,
food series would be great.
Yeah, we may do something like that coming up.
Yeah, but guys, I think if you guys don't have anything else to add on about Fallout, I think we're gonna wrap it up.
I don't have anything else about Fallout. Since we do talk about pop culture and we kind of try to stay relevant, obviously this is a new series. We do talk about some older stuff. Our next episode, we're gonna do like Ninja Turtles and stuff. But have you guys seen, just kind of keeping up on pop culture news, this Miranda Lambert situation? Has anybody heard about this?
I have not.
Mm-mm.
So if you don't know who Miranda Lambert is, she's a country artist. She now has a residency in Las Vegas. I don't know how long she's had it, but I think it's fairly new. She was doing a show. This was like this week or last week or something. She stopped the show in the middle. She was doing a song because this group of ladies, I think there were like 5 or 6 of them, were like taking selfies, and like trying to get her in the shot and stuff. And she was like, I'm going to stop because these girls over here are more worried about their selfies than actually listening to my song. And kind of like called them out, and like one of the ladies was like, I felt very much like, and they're grown women, they're like, some of them in their 30s, 40s, even 50s, and they were like, we felt very called out, like we were kids in a kindergarten class and things like that. Now the reason I bring this up is because it's gone even further. There was a debate about it on The View, where sorry,
I don't watch a lot of The View, but I'm listening.
I don't either, honestly, like, to be honest. But I don't know why, this just kind of piqued my interest. So there was a debate about it. One of the hosts on The View was talking about, like, she was like, if I pay however much money for, because they're like astronomical tickets. Like when you go to Vegas and there's a residency there, you're going to pay a lot. Mm-hmm. She's like, if I paid that much money, I'm going to do whatever I want, take as many selfies as I want. Mm-hmm. Whoopi Goldberg, on the other hand, disagreed with this and was saying, no, you should sit and pay respect for, the artist and what they're doing. It got so heated that Whoopi Goldberg got up and walked away, but then tried to kind of like, bring back some humor and was like, I'm going to take a selfie with this lady here who's like in our audience, and she's like 91 years old today or something, and it kind of like lightheartedly like brought everything back together, and it was fine. My question to you guys is, where do you stand on that?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, I can tell you off the bat, the first thing that comes to mind is that an artist standing up there is usually there primarily for the entertainment of the people in the audience. Like, the only reason you've got people watching you is so you can give them a good experience. Now, if they were throwing garbage at her on stage or heckling her or doing something to interfere with her performance in a major way, then I might be like, all right, well, that's not really called for. I mean, have a little respect.
Yeah.
If it's what it sounds like, you're just taking some selfies in the crowd, I don't have a problem with that personally. I think as an artist, you'd want to accommodate that a little bit. Be excited that people are excited to have you in your picture.
Yes.
Like, just be like, okay, peace and move along. That's where I'd stand on that if it's not like super disruptive.
Sorry, not to, and I don't know if this changes your point of view on it. I didn't bring this up, and I meant to preface it with this. This was like a slow song where she's just playing an acoustic guitar. Like, I don't know if that changes your mind at all.
I guess I'd have to see the footage. It really pivoted on, is it disruptive to everybody else's experience?
Right. And from what I could tell, it wasn't. They weren't like right in front of the stage. They were like, maybe a whole section back, just trying to get her in the shot.
It almost sounds like maybe she escalated it. I haven't seen anything, but if it was something where like these folks are taking pictures and she just decided should you be doing that? Should you be respectful sitting there and just watching in silence? Perhaps, but I mean, if you're there for a good time and you're there to get a photo and stuff, I mean, it's an entertainment experience. Yeah. So I've got a little bit more leniency for something like that if I was in her shoes.
I think I agree with you. What about you?
I agree with him. Yes, if you're not disrupting and causing a disturbance for the whole rest of the audience and that, do what you want. And we're in the age where everybody's popping selfies. Like everywhere you turn, someone's got their phone.
Yeah,
out.
you have to accept that that's a thing now.
That's a thing now. So
I mean, I agree with Nate. I feel like maybe it was more of a disruption for her to even like stop the show and say anything. Like, you know, it could have just been bypassed and not. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I'm probably even more. I'll take it a step further than Nate will. First and foremost, if I pay my money, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want, as long as I'm not bothering people around me and ruining that experience. But it sounds like let's say they were just the people around them. Mm-hmm. Okay, she took it a step further and ruined it for everybody attending that show.
Right.
By drawing attention to it and stopping it, you took it and you ruined it for everybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
Secondly, you are there, like Nate said, your sole purpose for being in that situation is to provide entertainment for the people.
Yeah.
Right? You would not be there if it weren't for your fans.
Yeah. Right.
No humbleness whatsoever. Thank you so much for attending this. I understand you want to get some selfies. You know, she could have just let it go.
Nothing. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
If it had been me, I would have embraced it, and I would have tried to have positioned myself. And I don't want to ruin it for everybody, all the other thousands of fans in attendance. But I would have tried to position myself in that selfie, give a thumbs up, a Fonzie, whatever it is. Because you're only going to gain more fans from that.
Right.
It's instead of us
very hip reference, by the way. Way to stay up to date on current pop
maybe
culture.
A little bit.
Right.
But what I'm saying is we're sitting here talking about her being a fucking total bitch instead of hey, did you hear about what Miranda Lambert did? There was a bunch of people, or there was like a group of 6 women trying to get a selfie. So what did she do? While she was playing the guitar, she actually went down there and got in their selfie with them. Yeah. That would have been a cool story.
Cool story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, think about if you were like on the other side of the audience, of the crowd.
Yeah.
You know, you're not anywhere near these girls, and you're just focused on her on stage singing her song, and now maybe you don't even see what's going on down here.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden she stops, and it's like you're like, what's going on? Like,
how egotistical do you have to be?
Yeah.
To be in an auditorium wherever she was, thousands of people, and 6 people aren't paying attention to you.
Well, and you know,
you call them out and you end the show because those 6 people out of thousands are not paying attention to your show.
Think about how we are now. We don't have big attention spans, so
Greg,
we can't do that.
Greg, you're the one, of course, saying that.
She took it as a sign of disrespect, like they weren't paying attention.
Yeah, that is how.
And that's bullshit because if anything, they are showing her a lot of respect because it's like, look at the selfie, look where I'm at. I'm at the Miranda fucking Lambert concert.
Well, and I'll show you guys the video too if you haven't seen it. But yeah, because that really was how it was. You know, she did. You know, it wasn't like over the top where she was like pissed, but that's what she said. She was like, they're more worried about taking a selfie than they are to listen to my song. You came here to pay respect me. I'll even say, to your point, Rob, of taking it another step further, like not only everything that we mentioned, but she has that's a residency in Vegas. What did you drove to? Like, not that I even condone it at all, but it's like you're not even touring. It's not even like you could say, I took a grueling, however long hour drive or flight, and I'm jet lagged and like I did this for you people and you're not paying attention to me. No. Oh, you all came to me and paid me $500 or whatever it is a ticket to come see me, where all I had to do was for all I woke up an hour ago, got myself ready and walked over to the theater. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like that's crazy to me that you're going to even take it that far to be like, you're not paying me respect. I paid you respect.
She did nothing to help herself, but in everything to help her lose fans.
You guys know who Aaron Lewis is?
Yeah.
The guy from
Stain, and he's a
and
country singer.
now you ever see his videos
Uh-uh.
where, oh man, he gets pissed when he's doing his song and like people are in the crowd talking?
Really?
There's quite a few videos of him like stopping the show and being like, you're at my show, like stop talking, like I'm trying to play a song,
man?
like, and he's walked off stage, like finished the show right there, like because people are chatting and like you're supposed to be watching me, like.
I can see that you care.
Okay.
Like, as an artist and being on, no one's paying attention to you. But you know what, man? Greg, to your point, people have a short attention span, dude. Don't take it fucking personal.
Right.
They paid a ticket to be there.
Yeah,
They're there for a reason. Now, whether or not they want to watch your show or not, that's up to fucking them. Yeah. But they paid you money. They paid to get in.
He's like, come on.
And
there's still other people in the crowd that are probably, just can't keep their eyes off of you, just focus. Like, I'm watching this guy play his guitar, hell yeah, and now you stopped. And
not only that, how about a little bit of self-reflection? If you really want every single pair of eyes on you, look at what you're doing.
Right.
I mean, a lot of the concerts that I've been to, and probably because it's the music I've grown up on, has been like 70s and 80s, like, classic rock, like rock bands, like, hair metal bands and stuff. I've seen Kiss, Aerosmith, you know what I mean? Like all that kind of Van Halen, like I've seen all those guys. And it's like, they're taking the microphone, they're holding it out. They want to hear everybody singing along with them. They're interacting with the crowd. They're posing for pictures because they know people are taking them. You know what I mean? And it's like those guys draw you in. So it's like and I've been there. I've seen them play their slow songs and their ballads and stuff, and people are still drawn in because of that energy. They started big. They brought them in. They interacted with the people. They said, "You're a part of this show. You're a part of us. You're a part of our family. We couldn't be here without you." And I don't care if Joe Schmo's sitting over in the corner picking his nose, looking at the wall, man. The other thousands of people that are staring at me right now and singing along with my songs feed me. And that guy, he feeds me too because he paid to be here and he's enjoying himself. That's what he wants to do. It's weird, but that's what he wants to do. And
two, if it bothers you that bad as an artist, seeing someone in the crowd with their phone out, why not have a no phone policy for the
people would
shows
buy tickets.
Well, a lot of comics
Tool
do
does that.
Yeah,
and Tool sells out in seconds.
Yeah. Well, a lot of comics do that.
You got
nowadays.
your fans. Your fans are going to come see you. They're not going to care that they can't take their phone in.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, that has been the latest episode of What Throttles My Crankshaft.
right.
But guys, thank you so much for tuning in on episode 4, season 3.
Yeah.
Next up, we are going to do Ninja Turtles. I think all 4 of us are well versed in the Ninja Turtles. Actually, I was really excited to hear about the next episode because I didn't have to do any research.
Right.
I've never heard of a Ninja Turtle.
I watched the cartoon,
we'll
watched all the
man.
movies. So again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week on
Tupac Lives.
Tupac Lives.
Whoop whoop.
See ya.